Welcome to Beyond the Balance Sheet, where we explore the stories behind the businesses, leaders, and organizations shaping our communities and our economy. I'm Vince Coglianese, and with me, my co-host, Patricia Ferrick, president of FVCbank. As we approach America's 250th anniversary, our recent episodes have also been reflecting FVCbank's America 250 13 Stars initiative, highlighting the leadership principles that have shaped our country and will define its future. Today's conversation fits perfectly with that theme. We're joined by Koti Vanga, CEO of Genesis Engineering Solutions, an innovative firm supporting critical infrastructure, engineering, and mission-driven projects across both the public and the private sectors. Koti, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, Koti, tell us all about Genesis Engineering Solutions. What do you do and who do you serve?
Well, to start at the high level, Genesis Engineering Solutions, we are a engineering and manufacturing company. We focus on mission-critical hardware and software solutions. We support space, defense, and commercial space, which is booming a lot these days. Anything where you talk about reliability and execution is really matters in terms of the national security and anything to do with the NASA programs, which is no opportunity for failure.
Yeah, big time. The stakes are very high in space.
Thank you. Yeah. We were part of big missions all the way from Hubble missions, International Space Station missions, James Webb Telescope. That's been part of our lot of heritage for the last 33 years. And now upcoming launch called Roman Space Telescope, which is going to be looking into the space and see if there are aliens or not.
I love that.
Fun fact.
I love it.
What inspired you to start or lead Genesis Engineering? Was there a defining moment?
I think it's hard to pick one moment. I think it's part of last 15 years of my experience and education. I'm an engineer by training and did my MBA from MIT, where we say hands, mind, and heart at the same time. That's our MIT motto. Part of that, as I keep growing up, I want to do my own thing. And I came across Genesis, where I learned, before coming to Genesis, where I learned like building systems, scaling the programs and companies at larger organizations, and did the business development M&A space. So part of that, I acquired Genesis with the help of FVCbank. Thank you for your partnership on there. I took all those learning opportunities to do something my own, and that's where Genesis came in place.
Well, so you've got all the right skills. You understand the business environment and you understand the engineering environment. So what was the breakthrough moment for you? Because that's when these successful companies, they typically have these amazing breakthrough moments where everything defines the trajectory of their company's future. What was that for you?
Well, honestly, I've been here for 6 months now, but the company's there for 33 years.
Yeah.
It's a lot of space heritage. There are a lot of mini breakthrough moments across last 33 years for Genesis. All the way to start the company with the Hubble mission. And then International Space Station missions. And then for last 20 years, they worked on James Webb Telescope, solving some of the complex problems, where it's going to stay up 1 million miles away from Earth, trying to look out into the space, what's out there.
Right.
That was a huge success for us. And going into the future, and from my own perspective, when I started this, biggest moment for me is to win the customers and people within my organization, right? That was the key. To the last 6 months, that's what I'm working on. But we are involved in many critical missions for national security in defense. And now with the commercial space growing, we've been part of a lot of critical missions for commercial space companies too. So a lot to come, but one small moment at a time.
That's so cool. And what differentiates Genesis against other people in this space, in the competitive engineering space? How does Genesis stand out?
I would take, again, like 33 years of space heritage.
Right.
It's hard to build where there's no chance for failure. We cannot fail, period, right?
Yeah.
But we also have what differentiates us from other small businesses is like we become a partner, stay close to the execution. Part of that, we have both engineering, where we design and manufacture under the same roof with a key, very hard to find key skilled people. I think that's one of our biggest differentiation. many people either design or manufacture, but we do both. We see real hand problems. We sit on the manufacturing floor. We react quickly. Our customers heavily rely on us for that.
You know, when people hear engineering, they don't always realize how much it impacts daily life. So what is Genesis doing that's making the biggest difference, do you think?
Well, the one thing I would say is think about James Webb Telescope.
Yes.
Some of the most complex engineering problems that humanity solved to reach up a million miles away from us and stationed there. And we played a very big part about it. The engineering goals were solving a problem where the temperature fluctuates from 300 degrees from one side to another side.
Yes.
We had to solve that, and we have to build the systems for it. That's one of our biggest accomplishments, to be honest. When you switch for within 1 minute, going from negative 300 degrees Celsius to positive 500, right?
Yes.
That's one of the biggest ones.
It's massive. I was just looking at that recently with the space mission, and you start diving into the details, like not at an engineering level, just a guy who uses the internet. And I'm like, holy crap, the differences in temperature in space, that they require real engineering solutions that people like you are thinking through.
Right, absolutely. And it takes a lot of key skilled people who our people work both at NASA facility and in our building. And we go a lot of back and forth between these two buildings. We call ourselves a mini guarded NASA center. So
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
From a banking perspective, we see how critical infrastructure investment is to economic growth. What trends are you seeing right now?
I think the banking point of view, you become a very critical partner to scale one. There is a lot of public-private partnership, and our partnership with you guys touched us not only just to acquisition the company, but growth of the scale, who understands the engineering side of the things. Not only the engineering side, not beyond the numbers on the balance sheet, right? That's where it comes down to. I don't know how many people recognize it. I keep seeing the trends these days, how much valuation these new space commercial startup companies are getting invested into. We're talking in hundreds and hundreds of $1 million, similar to what AI space is gaining. That requires a strong partnership from banking, and we are very thankful for you.
We're thankful for you too.
Now, are we at a turning point in how America invests in infrastructure, do you think? Absolutely.
I 100% believe in it. Starting from a COVID time in 2021, the supply chain disruptions.
Yep.
That's probably one of the turning point. But beyond that, how much we as country investing into infrastructure, not only that, into the national security, since the Russia-Ukraine war, for example, all the way till the recent events in the macroeconomic level, it's very important to have a fast turnaround supply chain capabilities within this country, and who can execute at a fast pace at a lower cost too.
Yes.
I think that's key.
And there seems like there's a lot of competition for space infrastructure internationally as well too.
Absolutely. We are number one, of course, as a country, and we want to maintain that. But going into when Russia-Ukraine war started, the first images is from space, right? What's happening on the ground. And that dictates what kind of decisions we're going to make. So there's a lot of infrastructure being put in, a lot of investments going into the space.
Now, as we approach America's 250th anniversary, FVCbank has launched what we call the America 250 13 Stars Initiative, highlighting leadership principles that have shaped our country and will define its future.
So, Koti, when you think about building the next chapter of America, literally through infrastructure and engineering, what leadership principles stand out most to you?
I think each and every one of them is key. And from my point of view, there are a couple of key things that I take it. Innovation is key in the space and defense sector. Solving complex problems, that's one of the big one. And the precision and reliance on our supply chain and in our capabilities and infrastructure. But most importantly, when I took over this company 6 months back, accountability became one of the key for me. When I say that, at the end of the day, you have to own the outcome of the goals, not just the plan, the results that comes out of it.
Now, how do these principles show up in how you run your company each day? How are you thinking about that as you go into the work?
The first thing when I came here 6 months back is there is a very little information available to me to track and make decisions point of view.
Mm-hmm.
When I say accountability, as a CEO, my job is to provide all this information and democratize to all the people so that they can take the information, make the right decision, make accountable for the plans that we put in place and execute it. I think it starts with me, accountable to my people, to my partners, to my investors, and that goes along with my people on the floor executing this.
And do you see that mindset being instilled with your team?
Yeah, I absolutely see it. I see everybody looking at the data points, whatever it is available today. Sometimes all the data is not there, but we have data to a point where we can make decisions quickly that can help our customers meet our deadlines that we planned and promised. And not only that, grow the company, the scalability, the decisions for the investments purposes we need to make. People are the ones who execute it. Yeah, absolutely.
So you've created this culture. What's the biggest leadership lesson that you've gained from this working as the CEO?
It's a good question. One of the things that I tell myself, I don't have all the answers. I'm sitting with some incredible, talented engineers in the building who solved some of the complex problems in the world.
Yeah.
I don't have that knowledge. I don't have that skill set. So I need to acknowledge that fact. And I should not be trying to be that person.
Wait,
right?
you let them know about this weekness?
Oh,
That you're not the
absolutely.
smartest person in the room?
I absolutely. They know it too. They know it too. My job is to build the right team, putting the right people in the place, and giving them the direction. This is the vision and mission of the company, and we shouldn't be moving away from it. That's my job.
So as companies grow, culture can be hard to maintain.
Mm-hmm.
How have you preserved it, or how do you plan on preserving that as you go forward?
Yeah, I take one step back to answer this question because after 33 years, the founder moved into a vice president role of engineering, and I took over his role. It's a transition period for everybody, including me and my founder. When I say that, it's and there are a lot of people with the multi-generations working in this building. That tells a lot about what culture he built. People were there for 20, 30 years. For me, when I come in, most important thing for me is to preserve that culture he built and built on top of it. Now I'm adding my leadership principle. One of the principles I talked about is accountability. I'm accountable for myself and I'm accountable for people that I'm working with. And they see that. And my belief is when I walk the talk, they will do the same.
In your industry, how do the great companies distinguish themselves from just the good companies? What's the distinguishing factor there?
I think all the great companies, one thing that stand out is they execute. Not one time, not two times, but year after year after year after year.
Right.
I think that's execution is key. For us as a Genesis, we have no opportunity for failure. Not a single product or single board that goes out of the building, because these goes into critical missions. So we need to execute month after month, day after day, year after year. So we positioned ourselves for the last 33 years in doing that. So consistency and execution.
How do you safeguard against failure, though? I mean, obviously, if it's a zero failure environment, that kind of culture needs to be instilled in all of your conversations, doesn't it? I mean, is that at the top of every conversation? How do we prevent failure?
Absolutely. I mean, part of that is building right people in right positions. Part of that is building systems and processes around them. And when we fail, I want to fail inside the building, developing a product, scrap it out, go back and redo it.
Right.
But not when it goes to the customer. So failures are an option inside the building, not outside. Mm-hmm. And the part goes out to the missions.
Now, tell me about how difficult it is to retain talent in a competitive industry like the one you're in. I mean, obviously, you want to keep people around. You just described having multi-generational, practically, company. How do you keep people? How do you keep the good people?
Well, I'm happy to say nobody left since I took over.
That's good news.
Not a single person, believe it or not. Well, what it tells is like not just me, the culture beyond my founder built it.
Yeah.
And I'm continuing that forward. It's hard. It's the engineering skill set that solves these kind of complex problems is hard to find.
Right.
And when I have an open rec, it's hard to find the right person. So for me to retain that talent, keeping them in the building, making sure they're good personally, professionally, and taking care of them matters most to me.
I can imagine. As a growing engineering firm, access to capital and the right banking partner becomes critical. What do you value most in a financial partner?
FVC has been one consistent partner. I call it a wife and husband relationship when it comes to my banking. So FVC has been there since day one when we started this conversation of acquiring this company. And your colleague, RT, was amazing from day one. Right from he understood the business, understood where the growth beyond the numbers can happen for this company, the responsiveness, and immediately coming back to if there are any issues or anything. The responsiveness was key. The relationship was key. And I think you guys do a great job in terms of that.
It's amazing. Yeah. What advice would you give to other business owners who are trying to navigate growth and financing?
The advice in terms of the capital and the banking partner, like I said, it's like you need a right partner.
Right.
Right partner, right line of credit. People who trust and believe in you, in the company, and you to take it to the next scalable level. I think that's going to be very key. And finding that right partner is hard, but you want to go for it. FVC is there.
All right, so tell us what the next couple of years look like. Genesis Engineering, next 3 to 5 years, what do you see happening?
At a macroeconomic level, the space is growing, like I said. The commercial space and NASA partnerships, there's a lot of change happening, and then we see those investments. We are in a position with the 30 plus years of space heritage with no failures. We are looking at scaling this company. We are looking at investing in our capabilities, people and equipment wise. So we see a lot of growth ahead. We got a backlog to support that growth path and a huge pipeline to invest into. So we are looking to grow.
It's exciting. So what excites you most about the future of engineering in America?
Especially in space, the innovation. I mean, we saw what Elon Musk did with this rocket company, and there are like 4 other rocket companies coming along. The innovation is key here. I mean, that's been driving this growth in this industry pretty fast, pretty significant levels of growth, and at the same time, keeping the national security in mind. So it's growing. Yeah,
I mean, the innovation has led to us being able to do things we never thought was possible, which is kind of the point of innovation. You can catch a rocket now. We can actually retrieve the International Space Station instead of letting it burn up in the atmosphere. These were thought processes that nobody had before because we've innovated.
Yeah. And that's true. And to follow up on that point, we have commercial space companies building international space centers style. There are companies like Vast, and we are building new spacesuits to support that. Landing on the moon. Artemis is one of the biggest accomplishments in recent times. And we are following up by that with the 3, 4, and landing on moon. So there's incredible innovation going to happen over the next 5 years.
So in that vein, what should the rest of us be paying attention to right now that we're probably overlooking?
As much as we keep hearing the buzzword of AI, but space is going to be as similar explosion in growth from my point of view. So yeah, keep an eye on that.
You think that the growth in space technology is going to be similar to what we're seeing in AI right now?
I believe so. I mean, look at the data centers that they want to plant in space because we don't have enough energy to support the infrastructure that we want to build for data centers. There are companies that is coming out purely based to deploy data centers in the space.
So we can generate power from the sun.
Correct.
Yeah.
Unlimited energy.
Yeah. Or at least until the sun burns up.
That's right.
You're an engineering guy. You know, it's not. There's no such thing as unlimited. Well, that's really cool. Koti, this has been a fascinating conversation. Thank you for joining us here and for telling us about the work you're doing to help build and support critical infrastructure all across our country.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Yes, thank you, Koti. And thanks to all of you for listening to Beyond the Balance Sheet.